Let's talk a little bit about, you just saw pin recognition. We went through that. You know, when you see that many pins go across stage, I'm going to really talk to the new people tonight. You're brand new. You graduated from the apprentice program, hopefully. The question that I have for my new people that are graduating is, do you really understand what you're in yet? And my guess is a lot of you don't. Maybe this is your first conference, maybe it's your second, I don't know. But my goal with this talk is to really hopefully get you to understand what the heck you're in and what you could accomplish for your life, for your family, with this opportunity, with the Amway business. And this is a business. And I think a lot of people get excited about, oh, I got mentored and I paid off some debt and I learned how to budget and I got a better job. And that's all great. But if that's all that happens, I'm sorry, it's a win, but it's not a championship. It's not something that is going to create a legacy for your family for generations to come. There are people in the Amway business that are third and now even fourth generation, where their parents built the business and they passed it on down to their grandkids, or I'm sorry, their kids, who pass it on down to their grandkids, who are now passing it on down to the great-grandkids. How did they do that? What was the mentality? What was the attitude? What was the work ethic that they had? And see, a lot of people today, they look at social media, they watch videos, they listen to whoever, and they go, oh man, that's what winners do. And then they go back to just watching other people build successful lives as they just scroll and do nothing with their own. The goal of this weekend is to hopefully spark something in your spirit where you leave this weekend a changed man, a changed woman. You leave here and go, I'm different. I'm going to choose to start having good days where I wake up and I conquer the day. And you don't have bad weeks or bad months. You may have bad hours, bad minutes, but you learn to get yourself out of that real quick. Everybody goes through challenges. I certainly have. My family certainly has. The difference is we just don't know how to stop fighting. The day I stop fighting is the day I die. And I teach that to my 7-year-old. I teach that. I literally, you may think it's funny, I speak that over my son, who's 1, and my other daughter, who's 2.5. They don't know what I'm saying, but it's going in. Here's a funny thing. Proximity is everything. And I said it at the Platinum meeting, but I didn't totally say it right. But literally, if you are within 25%, or 25 feet, 25 feet of a positive person, it increases your positivity by 15%. But if you are within 25 feet of a negative person, it increases your negativity by 30%. See, when you get around this organization, you are getting around a group of people that are positive, going somewhere in life, typically have a faith, are willing to overcome challenges. Now, if you're new, you have to learn to become that. You may already be that, but you're going to get even better at it. But that's what you're starting to get around. And these people up here, as we talk over the next 40 minutes, the difference is they've started to make decisions, or they've actually made decisions for a long time now, made decisions in their life to, no matter what it takes, no matter what is going on in their life, they are accomplishing the task at hand. And you'll hear some stories. You'll hear some things that they've gone through, that no matter what, they're committed to a 90-day core run. They're committed to making somebody aware of who's available. They're committed to making 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 people aware of who's available per day. Now, if you're brand new, I'm not expecting you to do that. Don't get scared. Don't be the person who's going to the gym who's all out of shape and goes, I can't take this. There's people there that are in shape. Yeah, because they've been going there for a decade. Wake up and stop being so immature. The world owes you nothing. And the quicker you understand that, the quicker you'll start making something of your own life. This is not the handout business. This is, we will help you build a life if you're willing to do the work and willing to meet us halfway. Dana's dad and mom, Executive Diamonds, they're my parents' upline. They're my upline. Ain't nobody giving Dana a handout because her parents are Executive Diamonds in the business. They have to build it. It's the same thing for you. And there's two mentalities with this. There's people that are scared about what I'm talking about, and there's people that are excited about it. You have to figure out the type of person you are. Do you want the ball at the end of the game? Or do you want to pass it off to somebody else? You may not want the ball at the end of the game, but you will learn to be the person that wants the ball. That's what this is about. And we're going to teach you that. But you got to stick through it when things are tough. Anytime somebody gives me excuses, you know what I say? Oh, okay, great. Oh, work was tough, great. Here's what I'm saying. If you're telling me this stuff, here's what I'm saying. I'm just not saying it. I'm saying I don't care. Did you get the work done? Oh, you had a job situation? Okay, great. I don't care. Did you do what you need to do? Not for me, but for your family. Because you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to find somebody else and work with them. Oh, I'm sorry. It was you have some relationship issues? Or your kids are giving you a problem? Or this, like, I'm empathetic. I'll listen to you. I feel sorry. When I had cancer, my business grew or didn't grow. It didn't matter that I had cancer. It was like, oh, sorry, you're not working this leg? It ain't growing. Didn't matter that I was sick. I couldn't call the person up and be like, well, I have cancer now. Understand these points. Because if you do, and you learn to dig the well before you need it, when you need it, and everybody will need a well dug at some point in their life, God willing, you've done it before you actually need it. So let's kind of talk about structure a little bit. And we could start down with Mike and Dana, and we'll kind of just go down the line. You've been in the business a little while. You've been around this thing for a while, okay? There was obviously a big mental shift that you guys had. That obviously you said, hey, if we're going to get this done, now, because you didn't get negative. I've seen a lot of people who are in a long time, and they make every stinking excuse under the sun as to why it's not growing. You guys didn't do that.
Nope.
And you're just getting started. You got 21 legs.
Yep.
All right. You have 27 legs. Mm-hmm. And now you're starting to track your growing legs. Mm-hmm. All right. Founders rubies every month, growing, volumes increasing. Kind of talk to me about the shift you had, that you and Dana had.
Yeah, wow, Tone. I was your dad's wingman. Like come heck or high water, we were building it together no matter what. And then it was like, I guess I got a little bit complacent. And Nick Saban says the greatest threat to excellence is complacency. Loved our life that we built, loved being around the culture that we have, but I was not being the winner that I was when I first got started for quite some time. And Dana and I had gone through some challenges, but when Luis and Jackie went diamond, it sparked something in me that made me look in the mirror and say, I'm not doing what they're doing. And so I will never be a diamond if I don't start doing what they're doing.
Yep.
And I said to myself, I'm going to stop fooling myself. And I got really heavy into my faith. And I started to understand what God wanted for me in my life, which was different than what I was willing to accept in my life. And the purpose that God had put on my heart was not the actions that I was fulfilling on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't doing him the service that I should have been doing by being complacent. So we made a decision. We completely turned things around. We stopped being the teachers and started being the students again. Mm-hmm. You know, we were Emerald teachers, and now we're Emerald students. And we are forever students of the growth of the organization, because there was no way we were going to grow if we kept doing what we were doing. And we knew that.
Yep.
We kept hearing you guys say 20 legs, 20 legs, 20 legs, 20 legs, 20 legs. I had 9 legs when we started the journey of going after 20 legs, maybe 8, maybe 9. And I said to our team, I said, we're going to go after 20 legs. And I don't think any of them believed us. But that was okay. I had to stick my foot in my mouth and say what I was going to do and then prove that I was going to go and do it. And it wasn't about winning in the lights. The underdog wants to win in the lights, but the champion is going to win when nobody's looking. For us, it was about adapting the champion mentality that even when nobody's looking, I'm going to go out there and do what I said I was going to do every single day.
Yep.
And post my accountability.
I mean, you really sold out.
Yep.
You sold out, both you and Dana. I mean, I've known you for a long time.
Yep.
I've never seen you so together and figuring stuff out. Right? Would you agree with that?
Oh,
I didn't mean to cut you off, Mike, but
no, and I don't want to cut you off, but but 100%. We had a lot of things that we had to figure out, in working together as a team, and I think that took us, I'd say, at least 10 years of figuring out how to work together, because we are very similar, and we both are go-getters, and we started to recognize that it really didn't matter who did the work; it just needed to get done. And so we started working together, same team, on each other's side, back to back, and that made a huge difference for us. I had things that I had to work on personally. Michael had things he had to work on personally, but when we stopped focusing on trying to fix the other person and just focusing on what we had to work on ourselves, so much changed. And that's when we really started to see the growth. Challenges are going to come, but it's all how you handle them. And I recognize that opposition is not a bad thing. You hear someone who's successful and nobody had it easy. And to hear of the challenges or the struggles, it actually made us excited when we started to go through things in our life, because we recognized that it was necessary to fail. It was necessary to go through challenges in order for us to grow our character. And we started to look at it differently. Our mentality changed, and we didn't have a negative attitude towards what was going on in our life. We welcomed it. Think of a kite that goes up in the sky and is flying high. It doesn't go with the wind, it goes against it. And so we recognized that going through opposition was just going to be part of our journey, and it was going to be a blessing, so you know that.
yeah, a little too well. Well, it's interesting, as you started going through that journey, did you start having instant success?
No, definitely not. It took us 9 months to sponsor a personal.
Did you hear that?
It took us 9 months knowing what we were doing to sponsor one personal leg.
See, a lot of you are brand new in the business, or you're just starting to go on maybe a 90-day core run, or starting to make people aware of who's available, and you have a couple of no's, and you get all defeated. You think that this thing doesn't work. A huge part of it is your belief. And I said that at the 615 meeting.
Yeah.
If you do not believe that this is working or that it's going to work, why would anyone follow you?
Mm-hmm.
See, one of the things that I don't know, this has just been in me, and look, I've been around the business since I was 14. I knew that it worked. There was no question as to whether or not it worked. So when I spoke to people, I was bold, sold, and told. That's an internal thing that you have to do.
Yep.
And here's the other thing. If you're like, I'm going to try this, I'm going to give it a try, you couldn't sponsor me.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to sponsor me. Mm-hmm. You want as many Tony Papalardos on your team as you could possibly get. Mm-hmm. And it's not a matter of, and you want Mike and Dana's and how do I say your last name? Beauprace something. All right? Am I saying that right? All right. But you want as many of us because here's the thing. I didn't have to be the big deal. You know what I loved about this business? I didn't have to be the big deal. I could sponsor people that were better than me, but I had to believe. Yeah. Why do I want to sponsor people that are better than me? Seriously. Do you really think I go, oh man, Louis, Jackie, how's your volume? Are you guys going to be able to qualify this month? No, they have 5 people in Sapphire qualification and they have 2 people in Founders Emerald qualification. I'm not worried about that leg. It's the same thing. What was it for you guys? Because again, been around for a little while. And then I want to get back to you in regards to some of the surgeries you had this last year. Not, and you were making people aware of who's available. You didn't miss a day.
Not one day.
4 surgeries.
So it's funny, Tony. I think we're actually a little bit of an opposite story. We were talking earlier. Your and I personality is very different. I was the guy in this room that goes, I don't know if I can do this. In the first 2 years of our journey, I was incredibly timid. I was wimpy. I love the values here. I saw something here, and we weren't on, Kelsey was in PA school. She was doing her thing, becoming a PA. I was trying to build a business. We were trying to figure out, we're going to do this together, are we not? We went through all that in our first 2 years. But at some point, you have to get to a point where you're like, I'm committed to doing this. Not just showing up and warming a seat, but like, hey, we're going to do this, and we're going to make it happen. And we figured out how to go platinum, and then Founders Platinum, and we sat there for a few years. And then we said, we probably had 4 or 5, probably more like 4 legs, maybe 5. And we said, okay, we got to start doing the examples we're seeing in our upline, on the team. We got to go wide. We got to get profitable, more profitable than we were. And we did. We went on a run. We got 10 plus legs in, and we started to make that run, and we went Ruby. That was about 2 years ago or so. And then this last year, we broke our first platinum, or we just broke our first platinum. They're in Founders Platinum qualification, and we have Ruby side volume outside of that because we've stayed committed, we've stayed bold, we've stayed convicted on, hey, despite having good careers, made good money as a PA, I'm a senior vice president at a bank right now, we have good careers, we make good money, but we had to get committed and convicted every day when we went out, every person we talked to, and stop playing the game of like, are we doing this right? Am I gonna, I don't know, I feel like I'm doing it wrong. You come to your coach and you're like, help me, I'm doing it wrong, it's not working. I had to become, like I gotta go build this thing, okay? So you don't have to start that way. I'm telling you for all these like phlegmatics like me, if you're in the back of the room and what Tony said scared you, hey, as a new, I would have been, Tony, I'm one of the scared guys, okay? But that doesn't have to be your story. It's your life, it's your family, you can do what you want to do. This is the best environment, in my opinion, to go create what you want, become who you can become. It absolutely is. That was our story. Anything you want to add?
Yeah, and I think one of the turning points for us is, well, the first point was we just actually committed. And it's excited, and you're going to create volume, and you're going to start to run a profitable business. But it's not like this is the only opportunity that's out there. And, so it's easy to get distracted, to go, oh, well, as you start, we got debt free. We paid off from grad school, paid that off in a couple of years. And then we started to bank a good amount of money. And then it seems like other opportunities come up. And it is so easy. And a lot of our peers who also have had successful careers got distracted by those things. And when they did one thing for a little bit, another thing for a little bit, they thought this was going to be just the ticket. While all along, all Michael and I did was we committed to one thing. And we made that decision that as a couple, we were going to lock hands and run towards our goals together. And for many years now, we've run our business that no matter what Michael does, I'm going to do what it takes to win. And no matter what Kelsey does, Michael's going to do what it takes to win. And there's times we've carried each other, it's like right after we have 2 little kids, we have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. The month that we had our first daughter, we launched 4 personal legs. The month that we had our second daughter is when our first leg went into platinum qualification. So my mindset throughout that whole process is it will get more difficult every day that I am more pregnant, and especially once these children arrive, right? That we said, let's do as much possible that we can now. And of course, once the girls arrived, it's like, even more motivating for us, and we would never want to sacrifice the beautiful life that they could live because we didn't feel like it, or we felt a little bit lazy, or we were a little bit tired. And so instead, it was continually choosing to get out of our comfort zone and get out of what felt good and play to win. And I think any performers out there from athletic space, a music space, and a business environment, it's like they just do what it takes. And it's what it takes is actually not that difficult. Everyone, a game plan with your coach, you know exactly what it takes. But what's your execution percentage on your last game plan? And we just chose that we wanted to start to have the highest execution percentage possible on the game plan that we had with Eddie and Cassie and we had with Craig and Carrie.
Well, question. Why did you guys choose to plant your flag here? Because in this room, it's different. And one of my cross-line buddies in another organization, he says it so well. He goes, look, Amway, it's a level playing field, but it's not an equal opportunity. And it's not an equal opportunity because it's based upon the team that you get on. I've seen a lot of people get in the Amway business and they have a really, really high work ethic, but they have a crappy coach. That's just the reality of it. You know, I don't subscribe to can't stop a winner from winning and a quitter from quitting. You know, because they used to say that like, all right, like, in other words, like if a good guy gets in a bad group, they're going to figure out a way to win. Maybe. You know what I've seen? I've seen a lot of those people quit and either get on another team and succeed, or they quit and never come back and go succeed in something else. So I wanted to make sure I was doing the right thing to help people succeed. And the difference is in this room, guys, we build it because we are looking for people that are strong and actually want to build a business and move their life forward. That's why we have all of these resources to help you move your life forward. And that's not the business you're in. You are in the Amway business, to be very, very clear. But that is how we help coach and mentor people up in the Amway business. But other teams don't have that same advantage. So why did you guys choose to plant your flag here versus somewhere else?
I mean, for us, again, we created early success in our corporate world, but no one had the peace of mind, the choice that we saw in the men and women in this room. And I was actually telling the team this the other day. I go to a lot of big conferences, right? As you become higher up in the corporate world, they send you places, they do things, and they promise all these amazing things at a conference. This is just one small example. Do you know how many times people go to a conference and say, you're going to get this out of it, you're going to get this out of it, and by the way, they charge $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 for a ticket to a conference for a couple days. And the type of leaders that I saw that came out of that paled in comparison to the men and ladies and women backstage. Why did we commit here? Because the Craig Klickners, the Kyle Willses, the Eddie Kutniks, the Mason Eddies in my life were leaders. They were men who stood for family, who stood for their faith, who stood for treating other people like they wanted to be treated. They stood for all the right things, and I was missing that at any high-level corporate person that I really met. I met some good people, but by and large, their life was not set up around those values. And then we even met like a Rashmi and Smith, a Jodi Prakash. Very different background of ours. There are uplines. Very different background of ours, but the love and the amount that couple sowed into us on our journey, it just blows me away all the time. And where else, Tony, we were going to get that? We weren't going to get that in the corporate world. We weren't going to get that. So, man, when we got around this, even though, like I said, I was wimpy, didn't have belief in myself, but there was something there that was like, I want to be like those men and women. So I'm going to start to fight to be like them. Not just to get recognized here and there, but like we wanted to be with them and with those people.
I don't think you were wimpy. I think you were just a little bit quiet. You know,
Tony,
I mean,
you did.
I mean,
You did. Maybe ask some of my upline. I think
okay,
they tell you
all
it's
right.
pretty wimpy.
Well, you were tough enough to stick around and develop strength.
You can't.
And I think that speaks volumes for you, because a wimp is somebody that would have quit.
Yeah.
A wimp is somebody that would have said, oh, I'm not like that. I can't do that. And used that as an excuse as why you couldn't build your business. You didn't do that. You manned up.
I did man up.
So you
You're
must have a really big heart.
Well, I think so many people are thinking about what if it doesn't work. And I remember us having a very crucial conversation in our journey. And I was the one that was like, I don't know, man. Like you've been working really hard. I was focused on school. So I didn't let the community, I didn't actually feel it and feel the growth. I was kind of like partially honoring a partnership and more of the supportive wife at that time. And so I started to poke a little doubt at Michael and like, you're walking through shoes because you're out there trying to shake hands, but you're actually just like smiling at people because you weren't shaking hands, you know? And we wanted it to work, but then we had this conversation and it's like, well, I started to say, well, we're going to eventually pay off my debt. Like it's not like we'll be starving or anything like that if we didn't run this business. And we just came to this conclusion where, we were thinking, what if it doesn't work? But then if you shift the perspective and you think, well, what if it does? And like we wanted to be best friends with Mason and Allie for our entire life. And hey, that might have changed if we didn't commit the way that we did, but we knew that they were going to win. And I don't know that I could like sleep with the fact that Mason and Allie were going to create the dream life that we ultimately wanted, because we chose that we wanted to be lazy. So we chose the bar volleyball leagues. We chose every bonfire with family and whatnot instead of actually committing. And what we realized at the point of that conversation is we hadn't actually given the business the work that it required to start to create results. And so we said, well, if we want it to work, we actually have to start doing 8 to 10 meet and greets a month. Were we listening to every talk? Were we reading every single night, rain or shine? Were we at every event? Were we giving it our all? Did we have the front row mentality? And so that's when but the results still don't come right away, even when we made that decision. But we just chose that we didn't want to settle for a good life. We were going to have a good life. But what's the point in having a good life when you could really go after a great life? And we saw that in all of our coaches and mentors and all the leadership. We couldn't unsee it. And I think it would have sat with us for the rest of our life if we didn't.
It's a really great point.
Yeah. And we are so proud of you guys and the example that you're setting for your family, because that ripple effect will go on for generations, and that's amazing. Being around this community my entire life, I was very eager and really excited to be a part of it and to be an impact player in this community. And seeing so much success growing up, with parents that went diamond when I was, 3 or 4 years old, I knew that this business worked, but I still didn't know that it could work for me. I knew that I had people that were willing to help me, but it doesn't mean that there weren't moments that we didn't feel like giving up. But the one thing that remained constant was having Vinny and Dana Pappalardo in our corner. And in those moments when we felt like giving up on ourselves, we knew we couldn't give up on them. And, we had one of the most amazing years welcoming a new baby this past year. But we also had maybe one of the biggest years that have stretched us. And Michael went through some health challenges, and he probably still has some PTSD about it, so I'll mention it. But, what I saw him go through, I knew pushing out a baby would be nothing. I was like, I don't want to trade spots with you at all. I'm good being over here. But I saw him, just his tenacity and his consistency, and I saw how much this community also brought him up because of the people that were praying for him and those that encouraged him. And, when you feel like giving up on yourself, it's in those moments that you recognize everyone else around you and you stretch yourself and you become better because you can't give up on them. And it's so important to be a part of something like that in your life. And I believe that's the only thing that really got you through those months and still getting you through those months of just going through some health challenges that we're all going to have struggles. We're all going to have challenges, but how cool to have people in your corner like a Tony Pappalardo and a Dennis and Danielle Nafty and Anthony and Callan and Warren and Vanessa and a Dan and Brenda and a Kim and Kim and Gary Reck. But to have, a Brian and Sia and friends that continue to just want you to become better and that are there for you and in your corner. And so I think that is everything. Yes, we want to be successful and financially, but to have people like that, I think, is irreplaceable. And there's no money that could ever compare to that. So,
Mike, just to pivot for sake of time, and that was great, Dana. It really was, because one of the things that you'll hear from all the people up here is they have such a high commitment to the team, to their upline, to what they gave their word to this cause. And, Mike, you were building it for a while with Dana, and things maybe weren't going in the right direction. And we were talking about standards.
Yep.
And I really kind of want to wrap up the rest of today with that, because we only have 12 minutes left.
Mm-hmm.
But the standards that you have and the mentality you have towards standards, it's not a matter of you being hard with your people.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, look, this is the bar, and this is what you have to rise to.
Mm-hmm.
whether we call it partner honoring a core or whatever. If they are not, it's not that we're in a legal binding partnership with them, but it's I'm fulfilling my obligations to what I said I was going to do for you. You need to fulfill your obligation, not just to me, but to yourself.
Yeah.
Because see, if I'm doing meetings for you and you're not honoring what we call a partnership, basically you're not doing your habits, you're not core, well, then all the people I may potentially put in your organization, how are you going to lead them? If you're not on a budget, how are you going to show somebody else through your example how to be on a budget? If you're not doing volume and setting up customers, how are you supposed to show somebody else who gets on your team how to do that?
Exactly.
So why don't you talk about that a little bit, and we'll kind of wrap up with that for the last 10, 12 minutes.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things about setting a high standard on your team is that you have to set a high standard for yourself first.
Yep.
And I think that that's one of the biggest things that Dana and I changed, or I would say that I personally changed because I can't change Dana, right?
Yeah.
And so I changed my mentality and I said, I'm going to identify as a champion, period. And no matter what I go through, I'm going to identify as a champion. And this is the standard, as high as it is, and I'm going to hit those standards. And I'm not going to accept anything less from myself. So when I launch somebody new in business, I can hold them to the same standard because I'm comfortable with that standard because I'm there. I'm not telling them to do something that I'm not doing, which I did for a long time. I was telling people to do things that I wasn't doing.
Yep.
I was telling them, oh, you need to have guests at the GE, but I didn't have any guests at the GE. It was like, it got to a point where our team realized, like, we're going to have guests at every single GE.
That you and Dana are gonna have.
Personals.
You guys have had personals at every single GE for literally months.
We sponsored 18 legs in 2 years. And a lot of them stuck because we started learning how to build depth with each leg that we launched. We're not just launching random people. I'm not going to waste my time with the wrong person.
Yep.
If they're not going to hold up to the standard that we set in a loving way, I'm not.
You're not hard with them.
I'm not hard. I'm just, the standard is the standard. Do you want to win? Then we gotta abide by the standard. There's no such thing as a winning team with low standards.
Yeah. So what you really told me is I'm not disciplined in building my business. I don't really, I have dreams, I don't have goals. Or I have a wish, I don't have a dream. So
We took it really seriously. I was not willing to sit down with somebody that didn't want to sit with me. And I was not willing to sit down with someone that wasn't pursuing us for opportunity, for mentorship, for guidance, for the opportunity to build the type of business that we have, the Amway business, right? If they didn't value our time, I wasn't going to waste my time with them.
yeah,
Period. And I was willing to
They-
walk
they could
away
be in Amway.
in processes.
but you're just not going to spend time with them.
Yeah, and we've done multiple follow-ups where I've said, this is not for you. And it's not because I'm trying to be hard, it's because they couldn't commit to a conference like this, or they couldn't commit to doing something. If you can't commit to the standard, you're not gonna win. And as a Christian man, I do not wanna launch you in business knowing you're not gonna win.
Yep. And see, that's the problem with network marketing, not here, but in other organizations, in the world of network marketing.
The people that you're working with right now, it's not that they're not good people, because they were great friends, they were a great couple, they were good looking, they had, all the things that you would think a good business partner would look like, but they weren't necessarily gonna be good in business at that moment, right? We were waiting for them to rise up to what we thought they should be doing, rather than going out and finding the people that were looking for us. And I think that made a really big change in our business, because we just kept evaluating it. Yeah, but we love them, right? Our love is unconditional. But I love what you said, Luis. Our time is conditional. And we were spending time with people that were not ready in that moment to rise up to the standards. And so when we started to recognize that, that was a major turning point in our business, for sure.
I mean, you hear things like, oh, I'd rather run with one than drag 100. But how many of you are trying to drag 100?
Yep. Yep.
Do you know what it's like to run with one? It's so much easier and it's so much more beneficial to run with the one that wants to run than to try to drag 100. The 100 can be there, but I'm going to run with the one.
Well, naturally, people are just kind of drawn to the people that are doing nothing, because you want to try to change them. That's one of the most common questions in the business, right? Like, how do I get this person to have a dream?
Right.
You don't. Like, I don't. Like, my brain is just naturally worked this way, where I'm just lazy. where I'm like, you don't have a dream, I don't want to talk to you.
You're not lazy, Tone.
You know, no, but lazy in that regard.
Right.
Where I'm so lazy, like that to me is just mental. And like when people are like I see somebody talking to the same person week after week, month there, I'm like, oh God, I just can't do that. Because it's so much easier to just go find somebody that wants to do it. You know, and with standards, have you guys ever seen a championship team with low standards? So ask yourself, what standards do you have?
Yeah.
What standards does your team have?
Yeah.
And if you don't have high standards, like Mike and Dana were saying, why should they? It has to start with you. It starts with you. So anyway, do you guys have any thoughts on that?
I was just going to add that, you know, I think a gap in leadership that we experienced for a while and we've seen within the organization is it's one thing to say what the standards are and yes, to be an example, but people want to rise to the standards when they understand the purpose of it. Having a ditto on the first day of the month, do they just do that because they're like, yes, mentor, you said I should have a ditto on the first day of the month? Or do they actually understand what it's like to build and the importance of that and the budgeting and all of there's a lot of reasons on why having a ditto on the first, or the importance of attending an event, or all the different standards that you've set, dressing to impress, all of the things? Or is it just because you said you should do it and there's someone who is obedient and so they've chosen to do it, but they're likely not getting the full result or understanding that it's actually growing their.
Yeah, you got to explain the why behind the what in every aspect of this business. See, guys, this team, we are at the beginning of being a legacy type team. We're going to break platinums. We have a distinct advantage because of our roundtable, our process as to how we bring people into the business, the leaders and the foundation of leaders that we have in this room. And then we also have another advantage because you're literally seeing it with Luis and Jackie and the growth of their team. When they started to kind of make their shift, I guess it was probably about, 36 to 48 months ago. All right, when they started putting in their width, they didn't, I think, Luis, you went through like 36 or some, I don't know, some ridiculous number of people, personals before one got in. And then they started getting some personals. How many? 64 personal processes with nobody getting in. The great Luis and Jackie Moretta. 64 processes, nobody got in. Well, look at what's going on in their organization now. Back then, they had a couple hundred people coming around. 200 people, Emeralds, Founders Emeralds, but a team that really was kind of just pretty stagnant. Now, at this next convention that they're having in February, they're going to have somewhere around 2,000 people there. So their group will have grown about somewhere around 10x. 10 times from where they were. Many of you are saying, well, that's Dominican Republic. It's hard to build it down there. People have no money. Like literally have no money. The average income down there is $200-300. They don't have the diversity of products. They don't have a lot of things. But what they have is a big dream and a big work ethic. But it's not like they're the only ones that have had that type of growth. Because Trevor and Lexi had that growth 6-7 years ago. Dean and Marcy Whalen had that same type of growth. Many, 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 many people have had that type of growth in the United States. But you get to see it with Luis and Jackie. I hope you leave this weekend with a belief level that's at an all-time high. And no matter what anybody says, you start to really understand when you get great at explaining what this team is and what this team represents and how we work with Amway and why we are different than anything that has come the last 50, 60, 70 years in network marketing and personal development, that's when your business will really start to grow. We love you guys. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
God bless you guys.
Give them a hand. They did a great job. We'll talk to you guys soon.
This is a copyrighted program of The Collective, powered by Markham Man Productions, affiliated with Marknet Incorporated.